Early this morning, I wrote this line in my journal. My mind is still in a fog from yesterday. A few moments later, I wrote this. Nothing is flowing this morning. The brain fog from yesterday is very real. Soon I realized what was actually going on. Today is March 2nd.
Did you finally realize your dream of having a family, only to have your happily ever after turn into a nightmare? Do you find yourself up late at night wondering why nothing you try as a parent is working? Are you searching for adoption resources and a support team but can't find any? Hi neighbor, welcome to Anchors of Encouragement. I'm Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, Bible class teacher, and the persistent encourager. I too felt the joy of having a family of my own, and I wished we could be like other adoptive families. I knew we were doing our best, but nothing seemed to work. And I kept asking myself, why is this happening to us? In Anchors of Encouragement, my mission is to throw adoptive parents a lifeline and be your anchor, to offer biblical mindset support and to provide stability when life gets unstable. If you're ready for real and raw talk that leads to peace beyond comprehension, so you not only survive but thrive in life's storms, this podcast is for you. Hope and healing are on the way. Hi neighbor, welcome to another episode of Anchors of Encouragement.
Now, for most of you, unless it's a birthday or an anniversary, March 2nd probably doesn't have much meaning to you. But for myself and my friends and family and my community, March 2nd is a big deal. Because on March 2nd, 2012, a tornado hit our community. Businesses were destroyed, homes were damaged, and unfortunately, people died. Even though it's been several years since that tragic event, when the anniversary is approaching, I start to feel uneasy. I start to feel anxious again. The grief that I felt that day starts to come back to the top. It's interesting the things that can trigger it. In my case, I've been thinking about this day for a while now. It's been rather windy in the area. We've had some storms, not really severe storms, but we've had some really strong winds. And those start to trigger those memories of the tornado. And then the anniversary itself. When that day happens, and I start to feel uneasy and anxious, I realize that's why. The anniversary, that date, triggers those memories of so many years ago. Since that terrible day so many years ago, I've been processing those feelings in a number of different ways. A few years ago on the anniversary, I went back to the spot where I took my boys, the spot I thought was going to be safe for them. I actually moved them closer to danger and closer to the tornado. Fortunately, the tornado was moving away from us, but at the time, I thought I had killed my boys. What I would like to share for you today is the audio from that video I recorded. It was recorded outside. The quality is not the greatest. But the thing that I want you to get from this, you'll hear in the video, is what I was choosing to do in order to process the feelings that I had. After the video, I'll share a few closing thoughts.
For those of you old enough, all I have to do is say 9/11, and I'm sure you remember exactly where you were that tragic day in our nation's history. My name is Tim Maudlin, and for myself and those in my community, all I have to say is March 2nd, 2012. Because on that day, we remember when a tornado hit our hometown. On this anniversary of that day, I've been remembering a lot. I remember taking the day off so my wife could go to a women's retreat. I remember being excited because I was going to spend the day with my boys. I remember waking up and turning the TV on, only to see the Weather Channel anchors in our area because they fully anticipated a tornado outbreak. It wasn't if, it was when. I remember thinking back to my childhood in 1974, because on that day, that was the first time I'd ever experienced tornadoes. I remember taking my boys to lunch and then coming home, and when we got out of the car, I remember the chill in the air and thinking it wasn't going to be long. I remember telling the boys, when the sirens go off, we're going to have to leave. I remember when the warnings were issued, I told the boys it was time to go. We had to get to our safe place. I remember driving 1.5 miles from our house to where I am right now. And I remember looking over my shoulder to the blue sky you're seeing today, looking for that tornado. I remember not seeing it. I also remember looking more to the west around the corner of the building, and there it was. I remember that sinking feeling that I had because I just thought I had killed my boys. I remember taking a quick picture of the tornado before we ran downstairs. I remember waiting and waiting and waiting for the building to be hit. After several minutes, I remember going outside and hearing sirens everywhere. I remember going home so I didn't get in the way. The first responders were doing amazing work, coming on the scene and helping those who had been impacted. I remember trying to get information, but it was hard too at that time. I remember going to bed that night feeling helpless because I hadn't done anything. I hadn't helped anyone. I remember right before I went to sleep of an idea. And I remember getting up the next day and calling my dad and telling him what that idea was. An idea that maybe we could help those who had been affected by the tornado. Over the next days, I would like to share that idea with you and the lessons I learned from it. But on this day, on this anniversary, March 2nd, it's important to remember those who were impacted, those who had property damage, those who were injured, and sadly, those who were killed. March 2nd is an important day in our community, a day we'll never forget.
The takeaway for this episode and your daily doable is this. Whenever you experience something difficult in your life, something that's traumatic, don't suppress your feelings. That's not healthy. Instead, choose to remember them. How you choose to do that is up to you. Whether it's talking about them, whether it's thinking about them, or whether it's writing about them. Find what works for you and do it. I believe by writing you can really touch those feelings. But that's me. Find what works for you and do it. Sit with those feelings. But don't stay there. I also want to encourage you to look for those things that you can be grateful for in that experience. It might be difficult at first, but I believe there'll be things, if you really think about them, things that you can be grateful for. In my experience, March 2nd was terrible. But even on March 2nd, I can remember the people who were helping other people, neighbor helping neighbor. The days following were amazing. One of the ways we did that as a community I talk about in episode 16. As I remember those things I can be grateful for, it lessens the uneasiness and the anxiousness that I felt on March 2nd. The grief never goes away. It just becomes more manageable. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.
If this podcast has given you the courage and confidence to face storms in your life, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about the show. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Tim Maudlin. You can also connect with me in my Facebook group, Anchors of Encouragement.
So until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now.